Hello and welcome back to Topic Key Inner Clarity. It's so good to have you here with us. Today, we're tackling a phrase that you might have seen on a motivational poster, or maybe a friend said it to you during a really tough breakup. The phrase is, people will treat you the way you allow them to.
It's a heavy one, isn't it? It's one of those sentences that sounds so empowering on a good day, like a real call to arms, but then can feel incredibly accusatory on a bad day.
A gut punch. That's what it feels like. When I first saw this topic on our slate, my immediate reaction was, defensiveness. I thought, wait, are you saying it's my fault that my boss is a nightmare? That my friend is flaky?
Right. What did I do?
Yes. It brings up so much guilt and confusion. Yeah. But the mission for this deep dive is to take that phrase apart. We're not here to use it as a club to beat ourselves up with. We want to find the tools hidden inside it.
That's the key. We want to move from that state of feeling overwhelmed by everyone else's demands, that feeling of burnout that is so common, to finding actual inner clarity. And the tool we're using, it's the architecture of healthy boundaries.
And architecture really is the perfect word. I think people often view boundaries as just, saying the word no over and over again.
Like a broken record.
Exactly. But the source material we have today, and we have a ton of it, it all shows us that this is about building a structure. It's about teaching the world how to value you.
It is. And we're going to get specific. We have a massive stack of research today. We're going to break down the 15, yes, you heard that right, 15 different types of boundaries.
15.
Right. We're going to look at why we feel so guilty setting them. And we're going to give you actual scripts for when people push back, because they will push back.
Oh, they definitely will.
Yeah.
So let's jump right into the deep end. The core philosophy here. People will treat you the way you allow them to.
It's the central tension of this entire conversation, isn't it? If we look at the source materials from social work forums we reviewed, we see that disrespect often doesn't arrive with a marching band. It arrives silently.
Silently. What do you mean by that?
I mean, it's the small things, the tiny little cuts. It's the eye roll when you share an idea in a meeting.
Oof. Yes.
It's the constant interruption when you're telling a story you're excited about. It's the friend who is perpetually 20 minutes late every single time with a casual, oops. These aren't massive explosions of abuse. They are microaggressions of time and respect.
And the argument is that when we stay silent in those moments, when we just smile and say, it's okay, even though it's not okay, we are essentially co-signing the behavior. We're stamping it with our approval.
Precisely. You're setting a precedent. Brené Brown has this incredible insight where she notes that when we minimize our own needs, or when we apologize for simply taking up space, we are setting a standard. We are teaching people the rules of engagement with us. There's a quote from the material that just stopped me in my tracks. Peace bought at the expense of your dignity is not peace at all. It is silent suffering.
Wow. That is powerful. Silent suffering. I think a lot of us live there because we think we're keeping the peace.
We tell ourselves we're being the bigger person.
Right. But I have to play devil's advocate here, and we saw this popping up all over the Reddit discussions we looked at. Isn't this phrase dangerous? If someone is in an abusive relationship or a toxic workplace where there's a massive power imbalance, telling them you're allowing this it sounds like we're blaming the victim.
And that is a crucial nuance we have to address immediately. You are absolutely right to call that out. The experts are very clear. This phrase is not and should never be applied to situations of abuse, violence, or systemic oppression where you literally do not have the power to leave or fight back safely.
So it has a very specific context.
A very specific context. If you are in physical danger, you aren't allowing it, you are surviving it. That is a completely different conversation, one about safety plans and resources, not about social niceties.
Okay, so we're drawing a very clear line. We are not talking about situations where your physical or psychological safety is at immediate risk.
Correct. The phrase can be deeply problematic if it assumes total control in those kinds of power dynamics. However, for the vast majority of our other social, professional, and familial interactions, the annoying cousin, the demanding boss, the flaky friend, this concept is about agency.
Agency. So it's not saying it's your fault they're being mean. It's saying something more like you hold the keys to the door of your life.
That is the perfect way to put it. It's the distinction between control and influence. You cannot control other people. As Brown says, you can't change people who don't want to change. You can't reach into their brain and turn a dial that says, respect Jessica.
If only.
Right. But you can control your availability. You can control what you participate in. It's empowering to realize that you aren't just a passenger in your relationships. You're actually the driver.
That's a huge mental shift from passenger to driver.
It's everything.
I want to pivot to something that really fascinated me in the reading. It explains why we stay in the passenger seat for so long. It's this concept of cognitive dissonance and how it keeps us trapped in bad dynamics. There's this analogy, the one about the leaf in the folder from some kind of clever source. Can we unpack that? Because I think this explains why we let people treat us poorly, sometimes for years.
This is a brilliant way to understand human psychology, and it's something our brains do automatically without us even realizing it. Basically, our brains are efficiency machines.
Okay.
They process millions and millions of bits of data every single day. To survive without, overheating and shutting down, we need to categorize things. We need shortcuts.
Like filing cabinets in our head.
Exactly. So imagine you're walking in a park and you see an object on the ground. You pick it up. It has veins, it's green, it has a specific texture, maybe a little tear on the side from an insect. Your brain could spend 5 minutes analyzing every unique detail of that object.
But it doesn't.
It doesn't have time. To save energy, your brain just tags it as leaf. And once it labels it leaf, it stops seeing the unique details. It just sees the category. It tosses it in the mental leaf pile and moves on.
So it's an efficiency hack. If my brain had to process every single stimuli as a brand new, unique event, I'd be exhausted by breakfast.
You'd be paralyzed. So we categorize, which is perfectly fine for leaves, but we do this with human beings. We do it constantly, and this is where the source gets really, really interesting. Let's paint a picture. You meet a guy, let's call him Peter.
Okay, hello, Peter.
And your first impression of Peter is just great. He holds the door open for you. He talks about how much he loves his mom. He has a steady job. Your brain goes click and opens a new file folder. It writes Peter on the tab, and right underneath in big bold letters, it stamps nice guy.
Okay, I have the folder. It's filed under N for nice. I feel good about Peter.
Right. Now here's the trap. Once that folder is created, your brain wants to put everything Peter does into that folder. It's on autopilot. It wants to be efficient. Peter buys you coffee, straight into the nice guy folder. Peter texts you goodnight folder. But then, let's say 3 weeks in, Peter does something that doesn't fit. He snaps at a waiter.
Ooh, the leaf has a tear in it. That's a piece of data that doesn't belong in the nice guy file.
It does not fit. But your brain is holding this big, beautiful, nice guy folder, and snapping at waiter doesn't fit in the nice guy folder. It's the wrong shape. So now you have a choice. You either have to burn the whole folder and start over, which takes a lot of mental energy and, more importantly, requires you to admit you were wrong.
Which our egos hate.
Or you trim the edges of the event to make it fit. You rationalize.
That is the cognitive dissonance.
That is the dissonance. It's the mental discomfort, the static of holding two conflicting beliefs at the same time. Peter is a nice guy, and Peter just did something not nice. Because our brains hate that discomfort, we try to resolve it as quickly as possible.
So we tell ourselves a story.
Exactly. We say, oh, he's just stressed from work, or the waiter was actually kind of rude, I saw it, or he's not normally like this. We ignore the reality of the behavior to preserve the label of the folder.
Wow. So we are literally gaslighting ourselves to keep our internal filing system neat and tidy.
That's a perfect way to put it. And we'll do this over and over. He's late. Oh, traffic was bad. He's dismissive of your feelings. He just doesn't understand. We keep cramming these ill-fitting pieces of data into the nice guy folder until the folder is bulging and torn and makes no sense anymore.
And boundaries. Boundaries are the tool we use to stop that rationalization.
Boundaries are the tool that forces us to stop. A boundary forces us to look at the behavior as it is, the sharp edges, the disrespect, not as we wish it was. It's the act of saying, this piece of data does not fit in this folder. I need to create a new folder, or at least relabel this one.
A new folder labeled Peter, nice guy, who is sometimes a jerk.
Or maybe just Peter, complicated human, I need to reevaluate.
That is such a huge aha moment. We are fighting our own biology, our brain's desire for efficiency when we set boundaries. No wonder it's so exhausting.
It is exhausting, but it's necessary. Otherwise, you end up with a folder full of abusive or disrespectful behaviors that you've neatly labeled love.
Well, speaking of the details, the data points, let's get into the nitty-gritty. I was honestly shocked when I went through the clinical source material. I thought boundaries were just, personal space and maybe don't yell at me. But We have identified 15 different types.
It's a whole landscape, and once you see them, you can't unsee them. It really helps to break them down into clusters so we don't get completely overwhelmed.
Let's do that. Let's start with what we're calling Cluster A, the tangible boundaries. These seem the most obvious, but I feel like these are the ones we violate the most often because we think it's rude to enforce them.
100%. So first up in this cluster, you have physical boundaries. This is your personal bubble. It's about touch. Are you a hugger or a handshake person? It's about someone standing too close to you in line.
Or the person at work who always puts their hand on your shoulder.
Exactly. But it's also about health, which became so clear in the last few years. Deciding to wear a mask or maintain social distance is a physical boundary. You are protecting your body.
And the script here is simple, right? It's supposed to be simple. I'm not a hugger. I prefer a handshake.
It's simple, yet so many people feel intense anxiety saying it. They let the vent, they barely know hug them, and then they stand there stiff and uncomfortable because they didn't want to seem rude.
Okay, next up, material boundaries. This is about your stuff, your car, your clothes, your favorite mug, your books. I have a hard rule about lending books. I just consider them gifts because I'd never expect them back.
A very wise boundary.
But if I did need them back, I'd need to set a boundary.
And the source gives a great non-confrontational script for that. I'm happy to lend you my book, but I really need it back by next week for my book club. It's about clarity and giving a reason, which softens it.
Then there's the big one, time boundaries. This is huge in our always-on 24/7 culture.
This is a massive one. It's about punctuality, yes, respecting other people's time by showing up when you say you will, but it's also about overcommitment. It's that inability to say no to a favor just because you happen to have a free hour in your calendar.
Oh, that hits home. Just because the time slot is empty doesn't mean it's available for someone else to fill. Maybe I need that hour to just breathe.
Exactly. A key concept here, especially for work, is leaving work at work. Not answering emails after 6 p.m. is a time boundary. If you answer an email at 9 p.m., you have just taught your boss that you are available at 9 p.m. You are training them to invade your personal time.
You're setting the standard. It all comes back to
It
that.
all comes back.
And finally, in this tangible cluster, financial boundaries. This one feels tricky in practice.
How so?
So the source suggests that if a family member asks for money, you can say something like, I value our relationship too much to introduce debt into it. If my brother comes to me and says he's short on rent and I say that, he's going to look at me like I've grown a second head.
He might.
He's going to think I'm just being stingy and hiding behind some kind of, psych babble.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It does sound clinical if you just drop it cold like that. And that's the rub, isn't it? The source material acknowledges that setting the boundary feels aggressive in the moment because we've trained people to expect open access to our wallets, especially family.
Right. It feels like a violation of the unspoken family contract. We're supposed to help each other out no matter what.
But let's play that tape forward. You lend him the money. You say, pay me back next month. Next month comes and goes. No money. Now, Thanksgiving dinner rolls around. You're at the table. Do you pass him the potatoes with a warm smile, or do you stare at him thinking about your $500?
Oh, I'm definitely staring at him. I'm resenting every single bite he takes of that turkey.
Exactly. The relationship is already damaged. The resentment is there. It's just unspoken. The boundary saying no upfront prevents that future resentment. You take the short-term hit of being seen as stingy in the moment to avoid the long-term cancer of being hateful in the future.
That makes so much sense. You're choosing the smaller, immediate discomfort over a larger, festering one.
You're protecting the long-term health of the relationship.
Okay, let's move to cluster B, the internal or intangible boundaries. These feel a bit trickier to pin down because you can't see them. They're all in your head and heart.
They are, but they are absolutely vital for mental and emotional health. The first one is emotional boundaries. This is the fundamental understanding that you are not responsible for fixing someone else's mood.
We're going to talk more about that fixing aspect later, but this is like, if my partner comes home from a bad day at work and is in a terrible mood, I don't have to absorb that and also be in a bad mood.
Correct. You can offer support. You can listen. You can say, that sounds awful. I'm so sorry you went through that. But you don't have to take on their anger or sadness as your own. You are distinct. Think of it like two boats in a harbor. You can be next to their boat, but you don't want to drill a hole in your own hull just because theirs is leaking.
That's a great visual. Don't sink your own boat out of sympathy. Then there are intellectual boundaries.
This one is so interesting. The source defines it as respecting different ideas and opinions, and also the right to change your mind. But it goes deeper than just polite debate.
So it's more than just agree to disagree.
It's much more active than that. Agree to disagree is often a passive way to just shut down a conversation and leave. An intellectual boundary is saying, I am willing to discuss this with you, but only if you don't call my ideas stupid. Or, I'm willing to listen to your political view, but you cannot speak to me with that tone of condescension.
Oh, I like that. It's separating the argument from the attitude. You're setting rules for engagement.
Precisely. And the other side of this coin, which the source material highlights, is protecting your own intellectual flexibility. A lot of people feel like if they change their mind on something, they're being a hypocrite. A healthy intellectual boundary allows you to say, based on new information, I have updated my stance. You protect your right to grow against someone else's desire to keep you in a neat little box.
That's incredibly liberating. Then we have spiritual boundaries, which is about respecting diverse beliefs and not having them pushed on you. And energy boundaries. I feel like this is the one we all ignore until we are absolutely, completely burnt out.
Absolutely. This is about managing your social battery. We all have one. It's protecting yourself from what we often call energy vampires, those people who, just by being in the room, seem to drain all the life out of you.
We all know one or five.
And a boundary here is declining a social event, not because you're busy, but simply because you need to recharge. You're allowed to say no to preserve your own energy.
That is a valid reason. I'm not busy, I'm just recharging. Okay, let's hit our final cluster, cluster C, the relational and modern boundaries.
These are the ones that have really evolved with our society and technology. First up, digital boundaries. This is massive now.
It's everywhere.
It's about online privacy, sure, but it's also about digital etiquette. You have the absolute right to delete a disrespectful comment on your social media page. It is your digital living room. You can kick people out.
I think people forget that. They feel like because it's a public forum, they have to endure abuse.
Right.
Like, well, I posted it, so I have to take the heat.
Never. You do not have to host a riot in your own home, physical or digital. Then, of course, there are sexual boundaries, which is entirely about consent, communication, and the pace of a relationship, non-negotiable.
Absolutely.
And relationship boundaries generally, which covers things like respecting individuality. Just because we are married doesn't mean we have to share every single hobby or that I have to give you my phone password. It's about maintaining a sense of self within the partnership.
And finally, work boundaries. We touched on time, but this seems a bit different.
This connects to time, but it's more about capacity and workload. A script from the source that everyone, and I mean everyone, should memorize is this. My current workload is at capacity. Could we discuss prioritizing these tasks?
Oh, that's good.
You aren't saying no. You aren't saying you won't do the work. You're asking for leadership to help you prioritize. It's collaborative.
It's so much better than just saying I'm stressed. Or I have too much to do, I'm stressed. Sounds like a personal problem, like a complaint. Let's prioritize. Sounds like a professional strategy.
Exactly. It forces the manager to do their job, which is to manage the workflow. It shifts the burden of the impossible back to where it belongs.
I want to take a breath here because that is a lot of different areas where we need to be vigilant. It's a bit overwhelming. And I think the reason we struggle with this, why we don't set these 15 different types of boundaries, is because we feel responsible for things that are not our job.
Yes.
We feel like if we say no, the whole world, or at least that person's world, will fall apart.
That is the root of the guilt. We are carrying these invisible backpacks full of other people's rocks, and we're wondering why our backs hurt.
We have this great breakdown from a Jay Shetty source on what you are not responsible for. And I really want to go through these because I think people listening need explicit permission to put these rocks down one by one.
Let's drop them. The first one, and it is by far the hardest one for most people. You are not responsible for other people's feelings.
Say it louder for the people in the back. But Oliver, seriously, let's get practical. If I tell my friend I can't come to her birthday party and she gets sad, I caused that sadness. How am I not responsible for that?
Okay, this is a fantastic question. You triggered the sadness, but you did not create the underlying dependency. If you are kind, if you are clear, I'm so sorry I can't make it, but I'd love to take you out next week to celebrate, their reaction is their responsibility. Shetty makes a profound point here. If someone is dependent on you to feel good, you haven't actually helped them. You have stalled their growth.
Stalled their growth.
You've made them emotional invalids. You've taught them that the source of their happiness is external. It's you. A healthy person knows how to self-soothe. They might be disappointed, but they won't crumble.
That reframes it completely. I always thought I was being a good friend by managing everyone's happiness, but you're saying I might actually be preventing them from learning how to manage their own.
You're acting as a crutch, and they'll never learn to walk on their own. Okay, the second thing you aren't responsible for is how people perceive you.
The spotlight effect. The feeling that everyone is watching and judging our every move.
Right. We walk around thinking there's a literal spotlight on us. But the truth is, people see you through their own lens, their own filters, their own insecurities. If you are humble, an insecure person might perceive that as weakness, while a wise, self-assured person sees it as strength. You can't control the lens they are wearing.
That reminds me of the monk analogy from the source material.
Yes, exactly. To a warrior, a monk's humility is weakness. To another monk, it's the ultimate strength. The monk hasn't changed. The perception has. You cannot curate your personality to fit everyone's distorted lenses. You'll drive yourself mad.
Okay, what about fixing people? This is the one I really struggle with. I see someone making a mistake, a friend in a bad relationship, and I just want to jump in and solve it for them.
The savior complex, it's very common. Shetty uses a great analogy here. He says you can't watch season 4 of a TV show for someone who is still on season 1.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so good.
You have the wisdom of having seen seasons 2 and 3. You know the betrayals and the plot twists that are coming. You can explain what happens in season 4. You can tell them how great the character arc is. You can even spoil the ending. But they have to watch the episodes themselves.
They have to experience it.
They have to do the work. If you try to solve their problems for them, you are robbing them of their own story. You're trying to fast forward their life. It just doesn't work.
I feel like I've been trying to binge watch my friends' lives for them, and it's exhausting.
And you're exhausted because of it. And finally, the last one, and this brings us full circle back to our main theme. You are not responsible for how others treat you.
Wait, hold on. That sounds like a contradiction.
Yeah.
The whole show is about people will treat you the way you allow them to.
It's a crucial nuance. You are not responsible for their initial behavior. If a manager lashes out at you, that action is a reflection of their stress, their lack of control, their bad day. It's about them. It's not about you.
So I didn't cause their outburst.
No. However, you are responsible for how you respond to it. You are responsible for the part you play in the dynamic. You aren't the cause of the disrespect, but you are the gatekeeper of whether that disrespect gets to continue in your presence.
Ah, okay. That clarifies it. You don't cause the storm, but you decide whether to stand in the rain or go inside and shut the door.
Exactly. You are responsible for the door.
So we know what boundaries are, all 15 of them. We know what we aren't responsible for. Now we have to actually build the thing. We have to set the boundary. Boundaries aren't walls. They are doors.
It changes the entire visual, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A wall is built out of fear and anger. It's a fortress. It blocks everything out, the good and the bad. You end up isolating yourself.
Trapped in your own prison.
Right. But a door has a lock and a handle. You decide who comes in. You decide who has a key. You decide when to open it just a crack and when to swing it wide open. Boundaries are not punishment. They are protection. They are the mechanism of letting the good in and keeping the bad out.
So how do we install this door? The process seems so intimidating.
It starts with the internal work. Step 1 is get clear. You have to sit down with yourself, maybe with a journal, and figure out what you are available for and what you aren't. And this requires gut-level honesty.
So an example would be?
Are you available for reciprocal, supportive friendships where there's a give and take? Yes.
Yeah.
Are you available for 2 a.m. late-night trauma dumping from a friend who never once asks how you are? Probably not. You have to define it for yourself first.
Okay, clarity first. What's step 2?
Step 2 is watch your behavior. This is the uncomfortable mirror part. You have to stop doing the things that undermine your own boundaries. Stop apologizing for existing.
So hard to do.
It's a habit. Stop saying sorry when you take up space. The source suggests a powerful language swap. Replace sorry for the delay in an email with thank you for your patience.
Oh, I love that. That shifts the power dynamic instantly. Sorry puts you in a one-down position. Thank you lifts them up without lowering you. It's a statement of mutual respect.
Precisely. Okay, so you're clear, you're watching your own behavior. Step 3 is the big one. Communicate with courage. This is where you actually have to open your mouth and say the thing.
This is the script.
This is the script.
Yeah.
And it can be gentle. I really value our friendship, but I need more balance in my life. Lately, our dynamic hasn't felt mutual, and I need to pull back a bit to take care of myself.
That is so scary to say out loud to someone.
It requires immense courage, but the alternative is resentment, and resentment is a poison that will kill the relationship anyway, just much more slowly and painfully. And then step 4.
Step 4 is watch the response.
This is the litmus test. How they react to your simple, respectful boundary tells you everything you need to know about their character and the health of the relationship. A healthy person will say, "Oh, wow, I'm so sorry you felt that way. Thank you for telling me. What can I do?"
And an unhealthy person
will get defensive. They'll call you selfish. They'll try to guilt you. Their response is the final piece of data you need.
But what if I'm just not brave?
Yeah.
What if my default setting is people pleaser? The source material talks about different styles of assertiveness, which I found helpful.
Yes, it's classic assertiveness training 101. It helps to know the landscape. On one extreme, you have the passive style. That's the doormat. You disrespect yourself to keep the peace. You say yes when you mean no. Your needs are always last.
Been there.
On the other extreme, you have aggressive. That's the bulldozer. You get your needs met, but you run over everyone else to do it. You disrespect others to get your way. It's all about you.
And the goal is the middle ground.
The goal is assertive, the healthy, balanced middle way. You defend yourself against invasion, but you don't become the invader. You state your needs clearly, firmly, and respectfully. You don't need to yell to be heard. In fact, usually, the quieter and calmer you are, the more powerful the boundary feels.
That brings us to the really scary part, though. The part everyone dreads. You do all the work, you get clear, you use the perfect assertive script.
Yeah.
And they get mad.
The pushback. It's inevitable with certain people.
There is a psychological term for this in our notes that I think is so fascinating and helpful. The extinction burst.
Yes. This is pure behavioral psychology, and understanding it can save you from caving in that crucial moment. Think of a toddler and a vending machine.
Okay, I'm picturing it. The bright lights, the candy.
For its whole life, the toddler has learned. You press the button for the chocolate bar and the chocolate bar comes out. Cause and effect. That's the established dynamic. Now imagine one day you press the button and the candy doesn't come out. That's you setting a new boundary.
Right. No more candy.
Does the toddler just say, "Oh, well, the machine seems to be out of order," and then walk away calmly?
Definitely not. No toddler in history has ever done that. They press the button again, but harder. They mash it with their whole fist.
Right. Then they start shaking the machine. They might scream. They might kick it. That frantic, desperate escalation of bad behavior, that is the extinction burst. It's a temporary and often intense escalation of the behavior right before it goes extinct.
So when I set a boundary with my mom, and she lays the guilt on thicker than ever before, that's her kicking the vending machine.
That's her kicking the machine. She is upping the ante because the old method isn't working anymore. She's trying to force you back into the old submissive dynamic. She wants her candy.
And this is the moment where most of us cave.
Yeah.
We think, oh my God, I made it so much worse. This isn't working. I should just give her the candy.
Which is the absolute worst thing you can do. Because if you give the toddler the candy while they are kicking and screaming at the machine, you have just taught them a very powerful lesson.
That kicking and screaming works even better than just pressing the button.
You have reinforced the escalation. You've guaranteed that next time they will go straight to kicking and screaming. So the key is you have to expect the extinction burst. Don't fall for it. It feels weird and wrong because it's new, not because you are actually doing something wrong.
You have to ride out the burst. So how do we handle that moment? When they're screaming at our vending machine, Brené Brown talks about the power of silence.
Yes. This is a tactic for smart people dealing with toxic or manipulative behavior.
And the key is that smart people don't over-explain.
They don't. The trap is that toxic people want you to explain. They want you to give them a list of reasons so they can argue with your reasons. They want to pull you into a debate.
Right. If I say, I can't come to dinner on Sunday because I'm tired, they'll say, oh, you're always tired. Maybe you should take some vitamins. It's just one dinner.
Exactly. You gave them a handle to grab onto. You gave them a debate topic. Instead, the boundary is just, that doesn't work for me.
And then, what do you say next?
Nothing. You stop talking. Silence. That silence is not submission. It is a shield. It's a mirror. It forces the other person to sit with their own behavior, their own unreasonable demand. It reflects their chaos back at them. If you don't provide the fuel, the explanations, the justifications, the apologies, their fire eventually burns itself out.
That takes a lot of self-control to just be silent.
It's a practice. But sometimes silence isn't quite enough. Sometimes they keep kicking the machine, and that's when we need consequences. A boundary without a consequence is just a suggestion. It's a wish. It's a line drawn in the sand that you let people walk all over.
So the consequence is the enforcement.
It is. Sometimes the only way to teach someone your value is to remove yourself from the equation. The consequence is your absence.
We have some specific scripts for consequences here in our notes. Let's run through them because I think people need to hear what this actually sounds like in the real world.
Okay, so if someone is yelling at you, the boundary is, if you continue to yell at me, I will leave the room. And then, and this is the absolute key, you must actually get up and leave the room if they yell again.
Right. If you stay, you're just bluffing. And they will know you're bluffing forever after that. Your words will have no weight.
None. Another one for the flaky friend. If you break our plans again without calling, I'm going to let you know how that makes me feel, and I won't be making plans with you for a while. Or, for a more serious situation, the nuclear option. If you continue this behavior, I will have to consider leaving this relationship to protect my well-being.
Your absence is the lesson.
It is the ultimate lesson. You are showing them, not just telling them, that access to you is a privilege, not a right, and privileges can be revoked.
I want to do a quick self-check for our listeners because sometimes we are so deep in the fog, we've been in these dynamics for so long, we don't even realize how bad our boundaries are. What are the symptoms? What are the red flags in our own behavior?
The Johnson State College source gives a great list of diagnostic signs. One is enmeshment. This is a classic one in families, where everyone has to think and feel the same way. If mom is sad, everyone must be sad. If the leader of the group is angry, everyone must be angry. There's no individual emotional space.
It's like the Borg from Star Trek. You are assimilated?
It is. It's a total loss of self. Another symptom is disassociation. This is when you just kind of blank out during a conflict. You check out mentally. You tell yourself, it doesn't matter, just to get through it. That is your brain protecting you from a boundary violation you feel powerless to stop.
And victimhood or martyrdom.
Right. Feeling constantly violated, constantly taken advantage of, always complaining about how people treat you, but never actually doing anything to change the locks in the door, just complaining about all the people coming in and tracking mud on your carpet.
And then there's that big one, the good person myth. The idea that setting boundaries is fundamentally selfish. I think this is the biggest hurdle for so many people, especially women who are socialized to be caretakers.
This is the biggest lie we've been sold. And the truth is the exact opposite. Generous people set boundaries. Think about it. If you don't set boundaries, you give and give and give until you are resentful, exhausted, and completely empty. And what happens then?
You snap, or you get sick.
Yeah.
Or you just disappear from the relationship entirely.
Exactly. You burn out. If you set boundaries, you preserve your energy, your compassion, your goodwill. You can be generous for longer. You can be a sustainable friend, a sustainable partner, a sustainable parent.
It's the put your own oxygen mask on first principle from the flight attendant. You can't help anyone else if you've passed out from lack of air.
It really is that simple and that profound.
We've covered so much ground today. This has been incredible. We've looked at the core philosophy that we teach people how to treat us. We've unpacked the cognitive dissonance, that tricky Peter folder that keeps us stuck. We've toured all 15 types of boundaries from digital to spiritual.
It's been a journey.
It has. And we've armed ourselves with the mechanics of the door, the power of silence, and the absolute necessity of consequences.
It's a comprehensive toolkit. But like any toolkit, it only works if you actually pick up the tools and start using them.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what is the one thought you want to leave our listener with? The thing for them to carry with them this week?
I want to go back to that Denzel Washington quote because it's just so powerful. He said, "You are not hard to love. You are just no longer willing to be loved poorly." That lands.
It completely shifts the perspective. You aren't being difficult. You aren't being selfish or high maintenance. You are raising the standard for what you will accept. And the provocative question I'd leave you with is this. What have you been accepting in the name of not losing someone that is actually costing you yourself?
Ooh, that is a question to sit with, to journal on tonight. What is costing you yourself?
It's the price of admission for a life of inner clarity. Thank you so much for guiding us through this. This has been incredibly insightful. And thank you to everyone listening to this deep dive. Remember, self-worth isn't something you earn. It's something you recognize. And you have to be the first one to recognize it. Join us next time on Topikia Inner Clarity. We'll be waiting for you.